The third way we can begin to see blessing in our life, and this is the only don't of the do's and don'ts I'm going to give you today, is this. Stop watching advertising. I mean it. Stop watching commercials. If you subscribe to magazines, rip the ads out. And if you're in business and you have to advertise your product, I don't mean to say you don't deserve a livelihood, but I'm telling you folks, the American way of consumption is built on an advertising model that says you don't have enough. And by virtue of that, you are insufficient and inadequate. It doesn't matter what you're into, your hobbies, your interests. There's always something better out there. And advertising is created to convince us we're always coming up short. And if I just had this, my life would be happier. One of the most critically acclaimed shows on television right now takes place in the early 1960s. It's called Mad Men. It's on American Movie Classics. And it's about the heyday of the advertising industry. And the men and some women breaking into that industry who were at the top of that then. And it's amazing to see how they use psychology and their view of people to convince you to buy stuff. Advertising aimed at children is the most insidious. It begins early. An Australian study shows that Australian children average 2.5 hours of television a day, and over the course of the year, therefore, see 23,000 advertisements. Each of them a mini movie to convince you that you don't have enough stuff in your life. And consequently, children from an early age grow up with a very twisted view on food and what food they should eat, on toys and how many they should have, and even more insidious, with the clothing that's targeted and marketed at young children, a precocious sexuality that commodifies their bodies as early as 8 to 12. I'm going to brag just a little bit that I'm happy that we have a commercial-free channel in our house, Noggin. So Olivia's seen plenty of advertisements and sees plenty of things she wants. But we haven't carpet-bombed her with it. And we've been trying to hold the tide back. But the truth is, in our society, you're not going to keep your children from advertising. You're not going to keep them from forces that try to convince them of all this stuff. And you're not going to have a birthday party and have no presents. Next Sunday is a birthday party, and no matter what emails I send to my family, we are going to have a deluge of stuff. And so my goal is to create a culture of appreciation in my children. And that has to start with myself. We can never teach others to appreciate until we live lives of appreciation and blessing. And so, the don't here is to don't let the world get you down by constantly giving you messages that you're not enough. You're not rich enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not smart enough. We're inundating our young people, especially young girls, with these messages. And we have a message as Christians, a counter-cultural point of view that says life is a blessing from God and what we have is enough. If people in sub-Saharan Africa can sing praises to God of how joyous their life is, then the over-consumed American society can do the same. And it's so strange to me that we, with more bounty than anywhere on the planet, are so unhappy. It's only because we've convinced ourselves that it's never enough. We can choose to think differently. And the way we do that is step 4, and that is to thank God. To view our lives as blessings from God begins by getting away a little bit from the Protestant work ethic. To instead say, well, I have what I have because I earned it. To say, it's all a blessing from God. And if we begin with an idea that it's all a blessing from God, it's a lot easier to appreciate what we have. Because then we need not be envious and covetous of those who have more than what we believe we have. Oftentimes when we count our blessings, we find we have more than we can ever imagine. I've been overwhelmed, frankly, the last couple of weeks in counting my blessings. I had to stop because I just couldn't literally get through the day without, thinking this is just too great. Well, okay, move on. Get on with life. Appreciate, but now, get to work. But if we take that time to appreciate, if we take that time to count blessings, we're not going to worry that so-and-so down the street has a better, newer car than us, or has bigger, faster toys, or, has more people show up for their birthday party. What blessings we have, we need to count. And sometimes in life it's harder to do that. When we are facing illness, when we are facing hardship. I'm not standing up here to say, if we just think positive, life will be a bowl of cherries. Not at all. But we take too much time in our society to talk about what we don't have and to focus on what we want, and not enough time to thank God for what we do have. I guess you could call this my month's early Thanksgiving sermon, because it's really what I'm talking about today. Thanking God and living a life of thankfulness for those blessings. So that doesn't mean, like I said, forcing your children to sell all they have and give it to the poor, as Jesus instructed the rich young man to do. But it does mean teaching your children to appreciate what they have, and to model that by appreciating what you have. And don't let them hear you say things like, boy, look what so-and-so has. I guess they think there's something. Model for them a life that does not focus on covetousness and enviousness, but instead celebrates in the gifts God has given us. There's a hymn that comes from the Methodist camp meeting tradition. It's not usually my style, but was a favorite at the jam sessions that we have there in Mount Pleasant Mills the first Friday of each month. And I want to share with you the first verse and chorus today, because it's a little sing-songy and it might be a little cliche, but you know what? It's true. And it's count your blessings. When upon life's billows you are tempest-tossed, when you are discouraged, thinking all is lost, count your many blessings. Name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. Count your blessings. Name them one by one. Count your blessings. See what God has done. Count your blessings. Name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. Amen.